A bipartisan coalition that now stands at 41 attorneys general from across the country are now pooling our resources and actively coordinating across party and state lines to conduct a wide-ranging, detailed review of all of the major pharmaceutical companies involved in this crisis. And yesterday, we served a series of subpoenas on those companies. This epidemic is here, and we must not lose hope. The fatigue is one of our enemies as we fight to permanently change this behavior in the boardrooms and the C-suites of every single drug company in America, in the boardrooms of these insurance companies, in clinics, in pharmacies, all the way down to the medicine cabinets in Pennsylvania's homes. 80% of the heroin addicts start by using a legal prescription drug. Think about that for a second. 80% of the heroin addicts start by using a legal prescription drug, and 70% of them get that prescription drug from a friend, a relative, or what's laying around in the medicine cabinet. The statistics, though, fail to tell the full story of what's happening in communities all across our Commonwealth. The tragedy that these moms have to deal with day in and day out. The tragedies of loss in a community of someone who could have made our community better, safer, or stronger, lost because of this epidemic. Our investigators are analyzing documents that show the development of the opioid drugs, the results of those medical trials, decisions on business development, communications with physicians and consumers, and internal discussions about regulatory and legal compliance. Together, this multi-state investigation, this multi-state group, is the best public interest law firm in the United States of America, well positioned to combat the opioid epidemic gripping us across these 50 states. We aren't here to chase headlines or big payouts. We will responsibly follow the evidence wherever it leads so that we can change the behavior and turn the tide on this epidemic. We will change the very system of marketing, selling, and distributing these drugs. And most importantly, we will save lives as a result of this investigation and what comes from it.
High school students taking that one little prescription opioid pill at a party, or taking pills from their grandparents' medicine cabinet that sets them on a difficult detour from the path that they should be on, one that leads to a bleak life of substance abuse and addiction. We've seen throughout Montgomery County and throughout the state that this opioid heroin crisis, and now opioid heroin and fentanyl crisis, starts with an addiction to prescription drugs. When it gets too expensive to get high on the pills, a cheaper alternative, and a similar drug chemically, is heroin. This year's overdose deaths for us here in Montgomery County are on pace with our numbers from last year at 249. And each of those deaths is somebody's son, a daughter, a friend, a husband, a wife, a loved one. And one death is too many.
I've seen so many of my members get hurt on a job, be prescribed an Oxycontin, ends up turning over into heroin, ends up ODing, losing families, friends, and some of them have been mine.
I haven't had a drink or a drug in 6 years. I'm also from Upper Dublin, and I was a 3-sport athlete, and I played on these fields and in those facilities behind you, and one pill changed that. I'm also here to break the stigma. You know, I was so scared to tell people what was going on with me because of what they would think about me. You know, I'm from Upper Dublin. I have a great family. I was an athlete. You know, none of that mattered because addiction doesn't discriminate.
My son was an all-star running athlete for Souderton Area High School. He earned a full ride scholarship to go to Tennessee State University. We didn't know that he had a pill addiction. We knew he had been drinking and smoking weed, and we kept thinking, oh, his mood swings and everything going on in his life was a result of that. He hid it from us very well. I thank God every day that I took the 13-hour drive to see his first game. He had a 17-yard carry, and they pulled him out of the game. And they medically redshirted him because of severe back pain and leg pain. My son played in one football game and had a dream. Like Joe. And unfortunately, he's not even here to share his life with his daughter, who was born 4 months after his passing.
We tried to make sure that their lives were not lost in vain, that to do something to be able to push back on this crisis and turn their 16-year-old son to a doctor because he had a throat infection. He was prescribed an OxyContin. He got hooked and he was dead of a heroin overdose a few years later. Affected those who have succumbed to this deadly addiction. These are the people that fuel me day in and day out, and the people that I am fighting for, and the people that impact me probably more than anything. Today, I'm here at Upper Dublin High School to announce a significant expansion in that investigation. A bipartisan coalition, Allergan Incorporated, the maker of opioids like Cadian, and Purdue Pharmaceuticals, the maker of OxyContin, found in people's medicine cabinets. We distributed 300,000 drug deactivation pouches, primarily to rural Pennsylvania, where they don't have access to drug drop boxes, so that they can help them not just with typical drug dealing offenses, but with drug delivery resulting in death. So they're not going to prison for 2 or 3 years for selling drugs. They're going to prison for 20. I know that this is a priority that crosses party lines, and I thank them for their leadership. You know, for decades, the full force of some drug companies, given how hazardous these drugs are, to report suspicious shipments. This investigation is our premier tool to eliminate the root cause of this.
How many squirrels were there? No, I mean, throughout the years.